Welcome back, everyone, to Context for Chaos. This is part 2 of Meg Jones-Wall's 2023 interview. Enjoy. Absolutely. So, this is a nice segue. You brought up Rider-Waite.
Yeah. I can't believe I did that. I don't think I've ever referenced an image from a Rider-Waite card in an interview. Famously not a fan of the Rider-Waite Smith.
I was literally going to say, I'm so shocked you even brought up the name Rider-Waite Smith. I've listened to a couple of your guest spots on podcasts, and I don't know if you go into this really as much in the beginning. You're certainly more expressive about it on a podcast than they were.
There's only so much you're willing to put in writing. I'm like, I don't need to belabor the point. Like,
we've also given Rider-Waite Smith enough attention. Why give it even more attention?
Exactly. Like, the Rider-Waite Smith is doing fine. It doesn't need my press. Exactly. So in your book, though, a lot of times people will either use Rider-Waite Smith because it's, people just know it because it's the most universal one right now. And it's the one that's probably the most, from back then, meaning that's the most accessible in terms of, like when you go to Thoth, you're in a fever dream, Odd. Not a huge fan of that one either, to be completely honest.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all built off of a cult philosophy. And unless you really get into a cult philosophy, you can't actually appreciate it the way that Rachel Pollack or Mary K. Greer, these people can really appreciate it. And a lot of them use the Rider-Waite Smith in their books, and they reference all the symbology in it. So you're kind of getting the same ideas sort of over and over again. But in your book, you don't reference a single image. And I super appreciate that because there's so many people who haven't ever bought the Rider-Waite Smith that don't. I mean, there's all these baby tarot readers that weren't kind of, it's the millennials, the older millennials that had everybody like smash things in their head about how it was supposed to be.
I feel like sometimes the only elder millennial that's like, you don't have to. Put the deck down,
exactly. So now, but all these new babies, they find them just straight up out of the library, and they pick the one that they want, and they don't even think that they're going against some sort of tradition. So it's great that you have that your book doesn't have any images in it, but you go into astrology, you go into numbers. So tell me, what was your process fleshing out each card the way that you did? You really went in, and I was just curious, what was your day-to-day, working with the cards? What was your process with this?
So that's a great question. So the process was really interesting because I've been writing about tarot since the beginning. Like, even when it was just for me, it was very much I was very much a school of like, card a day, I'm going to journal about these, that's how I'm going to learn these cards. And I started doing Instagram just for myself, and then some friends asked for access, and it snowballed. But in literally just snowballed. I was like, no one's gonna see this. Everyone's seeing it, but it's fine. I'm just a Scorpio out here, like, what the hell. But everyone can see my shit. But yeah, so like at some point early on, because I started the Instagram like in 2016, and at some point in 2019, when I was really putting the book together, I was seeing stuff on Instagram like 2018, 2019 that like Instagram was going to die, and like you should really be backing up your stuff. And I was like, yeah, I really should be backing up my stuff. And I was like, you know what I want to do? I have all these writings about tarot in notebooks and on the internet and in my journals online and like all these other places. I should really consolidate it. So I made a Scrivener. I don't know if you're familiar with that like writing software, but it's great for books. I mean, I wrote my book in it, but it's a great writing software that you can use, and it lets you like create sections for chapters and individual pages and documents and move things around. It's really wonderful. But I was like, I'm gonna make 78 pages, like chapters, and I'm going to copy everything I've ever written about every card into its little section, so that as I keep writing, I can just dump things in, and then every time I have a question about a card or I'm really struggling, I can click into my Four of Cups thing and see everything I've ever written or asked or been curious about this card. And it was my tarot grimoire. So like, if you've like followed my work, like that's a phrase I use a lot. That's what mine is. It's an online like Scrivener doc with my entire history of tarot writing in it. It's pretty cool. Highly recommend it. It takes forever. But It's great. It's searchable. It's fantastic. And it means that my stuff is backed up and I'm not at the mercy of Instagram. I mean, we're all at the mercy of Instagram, let's be real. But like, it's not, like my work won't just I know my work won't just disappear if, Zuckerberg decides tomorrow to pull the plug on everything and pull an Elon Musk. So I think that that was the basis for Finding the Fool in a lot of ways, because it was like, as I started writing tarot scopes, as I like integrated numerology more into my practice, I had this really robust catalog of all of this writing I'd done. And so when it came down to like distilling each of the cards for Finding the Fool, I could really go back and look at my own work and see the evolution. Because some of the cards, I am using a lot of like, I hate the traditional association with Rider-Waite-Smith, but I feel like people understand those things as linked, even though traditional tarot work is so much older than the Rider-Waite-Smith, but we're not going to get into that. But the Rider-Waite-Smith definitions are really prevalent still in my writing, because that's what you find when you're like reading about stuff. And so I also really wanted to push beyond those when I could, and integrate like elemental stuff and astrological stuff and numerological stuff, as well as just like sensory experiences. That was really important to me because that's how I move through the world. And so, yeah, it was really like, how many layers of meaning can I provide in this relatively short section, so that people have the option of kind of, skimming through it and being like, okay, this doesn't resonate, but this does. Like this I fuck with. This piece is perfect. Like, and then they could just ignore other stuff if they needed to, or they could gradually fold more pieces in to create a different picture or layer their own meanings in. Hopefully, that's what I really wanted from people, is to be able to layer their own experiences and their own definitions, that even if they fully contradict mine, like I think that's kind of where it came from. And then it was just like, oh God, it's too long. And then you have to like cut it out, throw it out. I know, 600 pages. Take the weed whacker to it because it's way too much. But yeah,
I love that. No, that's great, because that's how I teach it, because it did take me. It took me 2.5 years to realize I wasn't learning it because they were definitions. Like that's how I was just like, why don't I love this? And I'm like, oh, you can't really treat this like a dictionary. You kind of have to more so treat it like, I sometimes treat it like grammar, or I'll treat it like the alphabet, or I'll treat it like anything that kind of breaks up this idea that one way is the only way. And it's not even just to attack the old way. It's not even that. It's because we want to read it. And if you want to read it, then it has to become way more flexible, and it has to meet your understanding. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. If you love astrology, then you need to look at it maybe more like an astrologer. And if you love numbers, if you love patterns, maybe you want to look at it more like it's numbers and patterns. So going back a little bit, you said you started this with self-discovery, and that's kind of how you got into tarot. You read it in books when you were younger. What was your idea about tarot then? When you were reading it in books, like what did you imagine it was going to be like?
Not what it was. I think,
right? I know. I think all of us. Yeah.
I know. I was like, this is going to be this whole thing. I'm going to pick up the cards and my life's going to change. And I was mostly just like, what the fuck am I doing? But I'm sorry, I'm swearing.
100. No, please. No, this is a real conversation.
I swear a lot in my real life. Surprise. But I think because I wasn't like little. Like when I was little, the books I was reading that had magic in them were like Matilda. Matilda's a witch. I will die on this hill. But
Matilda was my girl.
I was obsessed with that book. Yes. I read it so many times. And so I think for me, like magic was this is an inherent thing that lives in some people, and some people have it and some people don't, and that's fine. And so as I got older, and then I started finding tarot was showing up in some of the books I was reading, it kind of just stayed in that category. It was like, oh, some people can use this. This is a thing that some people can use, just like magic, just like, psychic powers, like mediumship, like anything, I don't have that magic. I don't have that talent. So like, whatever. But the more I kept reading and the more I kept seeing like stories where someone would go to a reader and then like bought their own cards and like started using them, or like where the cards weren't so separate from regular people, do you know what I mean? Or like it wasn't like relegated to this is a special tool just for magicians or something, but it was like, no, this is actually a thing that literally anybody could access. And it kind of started the wheels turning of like, well, if anyone could access it, maybe that means I could access it. What about me? Little old me. What if I did this? And then I picked up the cards and didn't know what I was doing, and it was like a whole thing after that. But
everyone's Icarus story. Every single person's
what
Icarus
if
story.
I flew to the sun? Like, yeah, like I was like, maybe I could also have this. You know, maybe this is. Yeah, I don't remember like being taught very specifically like tarot cards or witchcraft and they're of the devil and they're evil, but I definitely had this sense that there was this group of things that were just bad and you just didn't fuck with them, and so I just didn't. And as I started to get older and be like pushing back on other things like purity culture and like the virginity bullshit that's so prevalent in evangelicalism and like other things about like bodily autonomy and like sexism and humility and control of women and just general all the bad things that like grow in these like deeply fundamentalist conservative evangelical spaces. It eventually I got to the maybe also witchcraft, like maybe also spirituality that's not just working with this one God and this one set of rules. Like this is the like everyone else on the planet is wrong except for these random groups of stuffy white people who are the only ones who actually know what's going on. Like, when has that ever been true? Let's be real.
So. Exactly. Well, it's been true for a little too long. I mean, not even true. It's just been the law of the land for too long. It's like it doesn't matter if it's true or not. I mean, the best story you could ever tell is a story where you could never know the answer to it until you cross over and can never come back.
Yeah, like, exactly. It's a great lie,
right? Like
can't prove it.
A place where I could never ever see until I pass away. Like
you just have to have faith, but you have to do it my way.
But you can't have faith in any of these other things. Those things are going to lead you to the devil. And that's so you started it with, so after you got past this feeling of do I not know how to do it? Did it not choose me?
Yeah.
That's what's so beautiful, I think, when you're a tarot reader who really does want to cross that bridge, you kind of deal with that moment and then you go, okay, well, what do I do then? How do I do this?
Like, so now what?
What can I still have the bad drink?
Yeah.
How do I do this? So
like, keep trying. What do
I do? So how did you go about it? Did you just start reading books on it? Did you pick certain authors or did you go after? I know you didn't start with a Rider-Waite.
Sure didn't. Still haven't.
So exactly. But there were so many books back then, or the ones that came out that were all, like you said, geared towards Rider-Waite. So how did you go through finding the Fool for yourself, finding the discovery of it for yourself?
Yeah, it took a while because even before I bought my first deck, because it was 2016 and I was stuck in all of these resources that said you have to start with the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I just could not make myself buy it. I couldn't. I put it in my shopping, like, you know, I did the thing where you put it in your digital shopping cart and then you just stare at it for a while. And I did that dozens of times with like different versions of the Rider-Waite because I was like, I know I'm supposed to use this one. And I was also coming out of evangelicalism and I was like, I'm sick of doing what I'm supposed to do. Like, I don't want to do what I'm supposed to do, but I was scared to not do it. So it was this like catch-22 where I couldn't move forward. So I just kept researching resources. Before I even had a deck, I was like making book lists and I was like, I had like a whole folder in my like in my internet browser of like resources to check out and trying to find people that use decks that weren't the Rider-Waite-Smith, even if they were like still following that system. A lot of the decks I used to follow that system, but just like anyone else I could be looking to for advice and for guidance. And I bought the Wild Unknown deck by Kim Kranz, and in part because it's a great deck. I still love it. It's very animal. It's very modern. It's very minimalist. It's very bold. I love it. It just like really resonated with me, and it just felt completely tonally different than the Rider-Waite-Smith. I was like, this feels better to me. This feels more like something I can really, you know, sink my teeth into. And in part that was because I found Carrie Mallon and the Little Red Tarot blog, which both had resources on the Wild Unknown deck specifically. And so I felt like, okay, I was like, here's a modern, young, like inclusive, accessible reader, and here's a queer, feminist, accessible reader, and like between these two, I won't be alone. But still, I was like pulling cards and I was just like looking to these two brilliant writers, but I was just using their definitions, you know? And so it was really frustrating for me because I didn't want to just be relying on other people for interpretations because, again, from evangelicalism, like, you know, that's all you do is you go to church and you listen to someone smarter than you tell you how to read something and how to understand it and shape your whole worldview around it.
Very
And I was
Hierophant.
like, yeah, exactly. And I love the Hierophant, but like, I was like, this is not what I want to be doing. Like, it felt like just
You were liberated.
I was trying to be, but I was like, I don't want to just do the same pattern with a different thing, you know, like that's not the point of this. So I honestly just kept quitting. I think I quit like 3 different times. I was like, this isn't for me. Like,
It's also a very common story.
yeah, totally. And I just think, I don't know, I feel like it's important to like name these things and talk about
Heck
them.
yeah. Because everybody feels like they're a failure when they do that.
Totally.
It's not. It's not an easy system. It's not easy to stick
It's a whole
with.
language. Like, it's its own theology in some ways, or it's like aligned with theology in that way where it's twisty and tangled and like you don't just like get it. I mean, there are some people that absolutely pick cards up and just get it, but like most people don't.
Who?
Like, I don't know. People that write books.
And you know what? Like, the only reason I say that is because I think there is too much of a narrative that there are some people like that, and there are not some people like that. There are some people whose parent may have been so into it that you feel really safe with it, and so they kind of taught you it, but that's still being exposed to it. If you have never been exposed to it, you are most likely not going to feel super aware of everything you're supposed to be doing. You're just not.
No, you're just not. Like, and that's actually fine. Like, I just don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's great. Like, cool, yeah. Pick up the cards and fuck up. Like, pick up the cards and play and ask hard questions and don't know what you're doing. There's no shame in not knowing what you're doing. Like,
and it's exactly what you're saying. It's if you come at it with no prior conception or no like it's supposed to be like this or it's supposed to be like that, then you get to figure out what kind of a reader you are. Yeah. Where a lot of people who are taught how to do it have to break out of it, exactly like what you went through. It's like this is you don't do it at this time, or this is what this card means. It never means this. It never means that. And you might be a really great reader for that specific thing, but if you ever wanted to read for other things, it's probably gonna be pretty hard for you. Yeah. Because you were taught a very specific way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because you're just flipping back into a framework and following it. And like some people really work that way. Some people really like, I mean, you know, some people really want a system and like and there's no shame in that. But I think it can be really cool to try to go beyond that. And for people that do want to go beyond that, I wanted my book to be one of hopefully many resources to help tell people like actually it's fine, like go fuck around, like see what happens when you pull some cards out and stare at them and don't know what they mean. Like give yourself a reading that you don't understand right away and like sit with that and see how that feels in your body and like what are you doing with it, like how does it feel like.
And I love your journal prompts, you know, because sometimes like if you're a baby tarot reader, you're probably pretty scared of reading other people. Like, because there's this misconception that, or maybe this just fear that, you know, when you read something, you're going to see something absolutely horrible and then you're going to be attached to this horrible thing. And 99% of the time, I mean, our lives can change in an instant, but most of our lives are boring. You know, like there's not a lot going on. Like, you know, the most is going on in your head and in your heart. And that's about it, you know.
We're not in it. We're not D&D characters. Like we're just doing our thing.
Right. You're not going to instigate a quest for someone.
No,
you're not going to, you know, predict that somebody's aunt is going to, you know, pass away. You're not going to do any of that.
Probably not.
Thank you for joining us. And until next time, as above, so below, blessed be.